Hello, hi, this is Douglas Holzmeyer, and you're listening to the Undeniable Life Radio Show. This show is about living the undeniable life, accepting all the good that is yours for the accepting. Because this life is supposed to be good, and there is good coming your way, but you got to be in a receptive consciousness to receive it. Yes, it's the power of positive thinking. Yes, it's the law of attraction. But I share it with a spiritual foundation that you are divine and important, needed and necessary, loved in the beloved, that you are the Creator's best idea. Life's best idea, the universe's best idea. I use the term God because most of us are familiar with it. Unfortunately, God gets a bad rap. Not because God, there's anything wrong with God, but because of, sometimes well-meaning people giving us a rather savage view of who and what God is. God is self-existent good. God is the source of it all and is the power and law behind what is. And that is all there is. Everything else is an interpretation of what is. It is us who say the rose is the fantastic flower and the dandelion is a weed. Well, that's our subjective decision to choose it as such. Same with a rainy day compared to a sunny day. We tend to boo-hoo the rainy day, although of course without that water, there's no there's no life on this planet to speak of anyway. These are very, very obvious illustrations of why the very hot is good and the very cold is good, and the very wet is good and the very dry is good. As my dad used to say continuously, and I never really understood what he meant, it's all relative. He would always say it's all relative. I didn't know what he meant back then. I do now. It really is all relative. What's good or bad, and in most cases, is our view of the event or the circumstance, which most of the time we had a great say in its unfolding. So my book is a metaphysical book. You Are God's Best Idea, Divine Acceptations and Living the Undeniable Life. It is a book that will help you understand the principles that are at play. And I like the word at play as opposed to at work, because these principles can be used in a playful, positive way or not. It's not that hard, really. But yet it is. So that's why there are the books, the teachers, the messengers, and this radio show. This is a daily, well, not a daily reminder. I guess if you listen every day, it's a daily reminder that you are divine and important, needed and necessary, loved in the beloved. You are the universe's best idea. As Michael Beckwith would say, you are the big idea. So let's start behaving that way. I'm going to share some things from the book. Was certified as a life coach over the weekend with a very reputable company, the Steve G. Jones Company. So I have a new skill set to use to help you in a life coaching modality to help you live the undeniable life as well. And we'll be sharing some of the questions that I would ask you if we were to work together someday with weight release, prosperity, abundance. I'm also a spiritual practitioner licensed by the Centers for Spiritual Living. That means I took several years of courses to raise my consciousness and understand how the divine mind, works. It's very much like sowing and reaping. Understanding that the subconscious mind has a lot to do with how things go. And I'm also taking some NLP courses that use the concept of the subconscious mind, that the will is at the top 10%. The rest of it is the 90% 20% that is sort of the operating system that's running, that's helping us breathe and stay alive, but also that the other things that are going on, the accepted messages and beliefs and values that were given to us, that we accepted and that have taken root in our subconscious mind, that cause a lot of the self-sabotage. We'll get to all of that over time. I just wanted to let you know that I am a spiritual practitioner licensed. I am now a certified life coach. I am studying NLP in addition to everything else. So I want to talk about compassions today. The best thing you could say about yourself will come in a compliment you pay another. It has to start there. Because if you're judging others, even people that are easy to judge because their behavior is so bad, and if there's just one of us and all of us are one together inside what we are inside of, the universe, God, then it just doesn't do a lot of good to judge everyone around us who is failing to live up to our expectations. And by the way, I believe in high standards and expectations. I also understand basic psychology 101, and that often some of our most severe judgments and criticisms are projections of what we don't like in ourselves onto others. So compliment yourself by complimenting others, not flattering. Sincere, authentic love. Because after all, life is a gift exchange. The universe goes in circles. Seasons change only to return on time. Although I got to tell you, here in northern Nevada, we had temperatures over the weekend that were more like January temperatures than April temperatures. I actually had to throw on the heavy coat for the first time since January on my walk yesterday. So what goes around comes around. Although it may seem that some people are getting away with the things they do, they aren't. You simply can't run fast enough to avoid running into what you've set in motion. Isn't that the truth? I'm not so sure that things catch up to us. I think more often we run into them because we're going in circles. Hopefully we're ascending in circles, but not always. At least it seems that way. But there's reasons why animals don't tend to go to the bathroom near their water or food sources. So if we're making a mess of things everywhere we go and we're going in circles, then we're going to step in it, in our own stuff. So I was asked recently what I do with my precious life. And I answered, I remind people how precious their lives are. That's my mission. And as I remind you how wonderful you are, I remind myself how wonderful I am, because we are one. So if we know that what we send out is either coming back or at least that we're going to meet it up ahead, would it not make sense to send out the very best that we can? Our inner light, our divinity. Now, this is not just a metaphysical notion in this age of the internet, creating permanent records of things we blog, chat, or post about. What will these long ago forgotten messages say about us? It's interesting that, I've put a lot of stuff out there, a lot of essays, a lot of, videos, and of course these audios. And it's all good stuff, but a lot of it is esoteric stuff. And a lot of it is a form of spirituality that some people aren't comfortable with. They like a vengeful father. They prefer worshiping the messenger instead of living the message. They like the idea of appeasing somebody because as we live our life, we're always having to please the boss, or please the teacher, or the professor, or the local politicians, the zoning board. We're always having to toe the line, and I believe that we should treat people with respect and well, but there are people in positions of authority and power who frankly aren't in the capacity of their job worth honoring and following and kissing up to. But if you didn't, whether it was a parent or an older sibling or the neighborhood bully, if you didn't make them feel good, then there were repercussions. So, in the world of the internet, these lovely messages that I'm sharing, well, if somebody is considering hiring me for a job and they have a more fundamental view of religion, they could listen to my stuff and say, well, he may be the best for the job, but I don't like his spirituality. If you're posting about politics, which you have the right to do, if somebody's hiring you and they're one party and you're another, and you're very strong, even articulate about your position, if they have the opposing view, guess what? So it's kind of tricky in that way. So it's a metaphysical concept, the boomerang idea. But it's also true in a literal, practical sense that what you're sharing of yourself in writing or whatever can upset some self. But I always say be authentic, be who you are. And frankly, if the boss that you're going to have is that small-minded that they would not hire you because of a political party, because of your particular brand of spirituality, well, you don't probably want to work for them anyway. So, and we saw with Mitt Romney in the last election, he was recorded not being particularly articulate about what he was trying to say, not very well, because he was speaking to a room of like-minded folks. And the point he was trying to make, whether you think it holds water of any kind or not, at the very least was not done very well. And it made sure that he didn't win. He may not have won anyway, but it sealed it at that point. So keep in mind that what we send out comes back and usually multiplied. So have some compassion. To the degree you express it will be availed to you in your time of need. Be kind and compassionate. Set love in motion. Set peace and understanding, joy and happiness in motion today. And when you bump into it down the road, you can say, hey, I know you. That is how life and living works. Living undeniably. You know this if you have read this book that I have. If you have come back to listen to, what is this, the 10th or 11th show that I've recorded? If you've listened to all the others, you get the idea that the road is as smooth as you pave it with your thoughts, motives, and actions, okay? Only those who wield the hammer lie on the bed of nails. You're listening to the Undeniable Life radio show with Douglas Holzmeyer. Only those who wield the hammer lie on the bed of nails. So if you're treating everything like it's a nail, hammering this, hammering that, at night, the bed you lie in are all those nails. Because there's just one of us. So as you strike one, you strike all of us and yourself. So create a joyful consciousness. Let's start today. Let's start this very moment. What do you think? Begin by being aware of just how amazing life is. This is a wonderful place. And these are wonderful times. Trust me, it almost always works this way, doesn't it? For all those who are complaining about the 1980s, in retrospect, hey, some pretty good music, some movies, pretty good economy for most of that time. The 90s were a lot better than a lot of people realized. 23 million jobs generated. The expansion of the internet. I mean, my goodness. I think it's a little harder to look at 2000 to 2010 with the same nostalgia, now that we're only about 5 years removed from it. But in another 5 years, we'll probably look at some of the things, relationships, cities we lived in, accomplishments, and maybe we'll look back at that time a little more fondly. Not so much now. The last 5 years or so been pretty good. I mean, at least headed in the right direction in terms of the economy, the stock market, creation of jobs, opportunity, certainly technology. So it is a wonderful place, and these are wonderful times. Heaven is at hand. Miracles in the form of unfolding divine knowledge is increasing and multiplying every day, every minute of every day. So could it be that the expected and accepted suffering of poverty and disease will be eradicated within our children's lifetimes? I would love that. I think 60 Minutes had a story over the weekend. I didn't get to see it, about a new cancer treatment. And they were suggesting in the promos anyway that this may be the key to the end of cancer. I didn't get to watch it. I wish I did. But I think things are getting better. So what you can do now is express appreciation and gratitude for what is, while having the expectation in mind that the future will be better. Now, what I'm about to share is a revelation regarding pain. Nobody who lives any number of years avoids pain. You know, pain has a useful purpose. When we step on something sharp, we learn that object is sharp. Don't step on it next time. I got stung by so many bees as a kid. I stay away from bees. I stepped on, they used to have the bottle caps that you would pop off. Stepped on those. Burned myself. I burned myself on stoves and pots and irons. I was a slow learner. But eventually I got the message. So what I'm sharing with you is that if you are angry and bitter about an event that happened years ago, and part of that anger is rooted in the idea that the person who hurt you did not pay some kind of price for what they did, you need to let that idea go. Let's say today the average person lives to 75 to 85 years. In their lifetime, they will experience the death of all of their grandparents, their parents, some siblings, friends, and possibly their spouse. They may even experience the passing of one of their children. They may experience a variety of illnesses and injuries as well. Nobody is getting away with anything on this plane. Everyone suffers loss and, to some degree, injustice. At least a perceived injustice. The person who hurt you has long ago paid their penance in some way. So don't sentence yourself to a lifetime of additional suffering because this person out of the past never apologized to you. Be the compassionate one. And compassion will be yours in your times of loss. The only opposition we have in life comes from what we oppose. We know this. The more we fight against something, the more powerful it seems to become. That's why you shouldn't use the word fight. I know it seems to be the right word, but it isn't. All these diseases say, join the fight against boom. No, that doesn't work. Because all those diseases and maladies are still with us if we're fighting them. The fight on poverty hasn't worked. The fight against all those diseases hasn't worked. When a researcher is looking under a microscope at cells, treating them, interesting word, isn't it? With various modalities of experimentation, they aren't fighting, they're treating, they're experimenting, they're discovering and revealing a possible healing. So, it's the more, I don't know why I always tend to default to politics, but it tends to be an easy illustration. The more people fought against Bill Clinton in the 90s with the whole Monica Lewinsky thing, the more popular he became. Because they were fighting him with words and, whatnot. We have this thing where we tend to defend somebody who is being bullied. That's not to say what he did was, not worth scolding and being dealt with and discussed and whatever. But if you remember, they went way beyond that to impeachment, and it ended up making him not only more popular as a president, but to this day he is the most popular of the ex-living presidents. But he had a lot of faults, and there were things worth condemnation. Not that I'm big on condemnation, but they made him more popular because of how he was, attacked beyond the price that he probably should have been paying. That's true of a lot of leaders who tend to become more popular even though they're not doing so well. Putin is very popular in Russia, even though they're not doing that well under him. But when the Russian people see the outside criticizing him so much, they tend to rally around their leader. I don't know if it's a human trait or exactly what it is. He may be a pain in the butt, but he's our pain in the butt. You see how that works? So be careful how much you judge and criticize and attack another. Because sometimes you're giving your power over. You're actually giving them energy in a weird way. So where was I? I got off script here a little bit. Oh, yes. Be aware of the echo effect. What you assume about a person is whispered into their consciousness. Assume the best. Yes, the thoughts you have about your boss, your spouse, your children, your neighbor, your friends are heard subconsciously. Because we're one. We can pick up the vibration, the energy. They know when we're displeased with them, even if we don't say it. They get the message. Animals know when you're happy with them and when you're not happy with them, usually, especially dogs. It is easy to be compassionate toward the person who has been dealt a blow. It is good and right to show compassion to those who hurt. What about the person who clearly brought their suffering on? Well, are we as compassionate in those situations? Does the surgeon have less compassion for the patient with heart disease or cancer caused from smoking than from the person who suffers the same ailments but who lives a relatively healthy lifestyle? Hopefully, the answer is no. Hopefully, he or she, the surgeon or the doctor, treats the smoker with as much compassion and skill as he would the so-called innocent who has the same tumor. If they don't, they're not being professional and they're not being compassionate. Now, I hear people sometimes boast about how they never give change to a homeless person. They somehow believe that giving a person a quarter is encouraging their behavior, as if being a beggar is equivalent to being a burglar, which is another behavior a homeless person could choose. Frankly, I'd rather meet a desperate person asking for $1 in the light of day than the same person demanding all my money in the dark of night. But maybe that's just me. Your compassion for a homeless person is a reflection of your consciousness. Now, I'm not speaking of pity or even sympathy, but of seeing this person as having potential, even if you are just recognizing that this person has consciously chosen to exist as they do. You're honoring their free will choice. The same free will choice you have of not living that way. So next time you compassionately give a couple of quarters to a person living on the street, do so believing that your spare change represents the possibility of positive change for them. I have a homeless friend who never asks for anything, but he receives everything. Every day I buy him a cup of coffee from either Wendy's or McDonald's. Every day I bring him a fresh, hot cup of coffee with a couple of sugars and creams. He is so grateful. I mean, it makes his day. He's never asked me for anything, but I regularly give him coffee and food because I love him, and he has chosen to live this way. He was a musician for many, many years. And a few years ago, he sort of lost, his home, and he lives at the park that I walk at every day. And that's where he lives. He doesn't bother anybody, but he's a friend to almost everyone. Now, is it easier to like him because he doesn't ask me for stuff? I suppose that's probably true to some degree or not. I want to help him. Well, it says in the Bible that God provides. If God knows every hair on your head, every feather of the sparrow, and feeds the sparrow, provides for the sparrow, why wouldn't he do the same for you? It's hard sometimes when the bank account is seeming to dissipate and you're not working. And you wonder where all that support and supply is. Well, it's here. It must be accepted. I know it's hard. But having pity on yourself and being angry at your circumstances, the circumstances you at least contributed to, is not the way out of the hole. That's the proverbial, when you're in a hole, stop digging. So at the time that I was writing this particular chapter of my book, You Are God's Best Idea, Divine Acceptations and Living the Undeniable Life, my son Daniel was playing the role of the Spirit of Christmas Present in his school's production of A Christmas Carol. Now, one of my favorite scenes is when the ghost opens his robe to show Scrooge the huddling boy and girl beneath, while warning the audience of the consequences of neglecting the needs of our brothers. I believe he calls one of the children ignorance and the other want. An arrogant heart that never imagines that they will ever live in an alley doesn't assure that they will be immune to some other kind of heartache or hardship. The compassion you show will be the compassion you know. So, the show is called Living the Undeniable Life. I am Douglas Holzmeyer. I am a writer. I am a teacher. I am a spiritual practitioner. I am a life coach. And mostly I just share. And fortunately, I have 35 years of broadcast radio experience, so I can share this information that I was never able to share really on my radio shows. Now I can share them on these podcasts, these internet radio shows. And I'm happy for that. I'm taking advantage of the opportunity that we all have now with the internet. You used to have to be you used to have to be a journalist employed by a newspaper to be published. Not anymore. You could publish whatever you think today, probably within about 15 minutes if you get an account at one of the free blog spot. I blog at blogspot.com. The internet's an instant publisher. So share what it is that you think and want to share. There's no excuse not to anymore. Remember this. You are God's best idea, and it is all right because it is all God. Times are tough. Sometimes the road is bumpy. But know that you are still all right. It is so when you accept your divinity and choose to live the undeniable life. Regret arrives ahead of the person who does not leave their best behind. Again, talking about the circles and the cycles. If you don't leave, if you don't do your best and leave that as your legacy, you bump into it around the next bend. So if you're going to run into yourself, run into the best you. This is the Undeniable Life Radio Show. If you'd like to get a hold of me, it's Doug at youaregodsbestidea.com. The website, youaregodsbestidea.com. I'm on Facebook. If you'd like to like my book page, You Are God, just put You Are God's Best Idea in the Facebook search engine. What else did I want to share with you? Oh, I want to share with you before we get to forgiveness, which is my favorite chapter in the book, or one of my favorite chapters in the book. I want to talk about life coaching and some of the questions that I would ask you or ask you to think about if you were my client. I would ask you, who are you at the very core of your being? Now, my answer is you are divine and important, needed and necessary, loved and the beloved. You are the universe's best idea. You are an expression of light, of love, of truth, beauty, power. And you have access to that power to use however you want, to manifest the desires, the goals and dreams of your life. Some would go as far as to say that you are God. You are God expressed, expressing God, experiencing God, and God is experiencing through you. That's a step that I don't expect you to be able to take at this time. Frankly, it's a step I have trouble, ground that I have trouble standing in consistently based upon, what I see around me. But it's supposedly true. So what are the guiding principles or values that you live by? I would ask you to write that down as an exercise. And don't be flippant about that question. A lot of people would go, well, I'm this and I'm an honest person and I have integrity. And no, really, what are the guiding principles or values that you live by? If you just listened to this previous chapter, they should be that you understand that as you do to others, you do unto yourself. Very biblical. That should be the guiding principle. One of them, anyway, would be for me that before I say something or do something to another, I know that as I do it, I'm doing it to myself. So as a guiding principle and a value and a belief system, even if a criticism needs to be shared, it's done with and through and as love. What's important to you? Big picture and small picture. What is important? For me, happiness, peace, harmony is important. Progress for me is really important. I need to feel like I'm progressing. For you, it might be something like family, social connections. What is important to you? It doesn't have to be one thing. It can be 10 or 20 things, but it's a question that we need to ask. We need to do an inventory. As a life coach, I would ask you, what is possible for you to accomplish? What is possible? What is possible? Now, your answer at 25 may be different if you're 35, 45, 55, or 65. Shouldn't be necessarily so. What is possible for you to accomplish? I believe that we should live in a realm of possibility, not probability. What are you capable of? Again, that would have been an answer that could have may be different depending on where you are in your life cycle. Shouldn't be that much different. We tend to get beaten down by life. And, I still have the same desire that I had when I was 18. If you would ask me when I was 18 years of age, Doug, what do you want to do? I said I wanted to be a radio guy. I wanted to write screenplays. Well, I did all the radio stuff, and I have written a screenplay. I want to be healthy. I want to be the right normal weight that I should be. I'm 6'4". I'm a big guy. Always have been. But I want to look naked. I want to look good naked someday. And getting there, it's been slower than I prefer. But that is a goal that I still have. I do have a burning desire to look good naked someday. And I work on it every day. It's a part of my focus. It's a part of my intentions and attention. So what is your sense of self-worth? That will determine just about everything else. The higher your self-esteem, the more likely your goals and desires seem to be reachable. And the more you will be teachable. My whole book is about self-esteem. You are God's best idea. My goodness, what more powerful message could anyone share, ever? That's why I called the book that. You are inherently divine, worth your weight in gold. What do you deserve? That dovetails into what is your sense of self-worth, which dovetails into your capability and your possibilities. What, if any, are your limitations? Big one. In truth, you are unlimited. And don't be silly with that. It doesn't mean that you can run the 100-yard dash in 9 seconds. It could mean, though, that you could teach somebody to do that. Because you don't have to be able to actually do what you can teach. You don't have to be a millionaire to be a prosperity life coach. You don't have to be a thin person to teach and share the principles of good nutrition and diet and helping create a consciousness that will release that unwanted and unnecessary extra weight that you have. In my life coaching course, Steve G. Jones said that one of the very best marriage counselors that he ever knew or that he knows has been married and divorced 6 times. So he's not very good at marriage, but he is a good marriage counselor. That's not that unusual. I know a lot of psychics who are good with intuition and seeing everybody else's future except their own. It's very common. Why that is? Well, we all have blind spots, and that's what a life coach is really good at doing, is helping the client with self-awareness and seeing their blind spots. It's just like a football coach or a baseball coach. The baseball player can't see his swing at the time he's swinging, but his batting coach can. Tiger Woods historically has been one of the best golfers of all time. Somewhere along the line, he changed his swing. Mixed results. Of course, most of his problems are in between the ears. And he also has some physical things with his back and so on and so forth. It happens with golfers. But we need coaches. We need doctors. We need dentists. I wouldn't suggest that you do your own plastic surgery or, fill your own cavities. It's not good to give yourself a haircut. So we have people who stand outside of us who can help us with these things. And one of the best things a life coach can do is ask questions and hold you accountable. Although you are the one that is accountable and responsible, but the life coach can help you along the way. That's what I do. I am now certified to do that. And if you'd like to reach out to me, please do so. Doug at youaregodsbestidea.com. That's the email address. So what are your passions regarding life? What are your passions? If you don't know what your passions are, if you get in the car and you don't know where you want to go, you're not going to get there. You're going to drift. I was, over the last couple of weeks, I've been listening to the Napoleon Hill book, Outwitting the Devil. It was the book that he wrote after Think and Grow Rich that he never published. He passed away decades ago. This book really cut to the chase and put the context of the Think and Grow Rich principles in the context of spirituality. And his wife didn't think that would be a prudent career move for him, to really put it in the context of religion or God or spirituality. Even though he touched upon that in Think and Grow Rich, this was really overt. And I recommend the book. I recommend listening to the audio dramatization of it on YouTube. And, who is the adversary? It is ourselves. Most of the Aramaic references to the devil in the Bible, the original interpretation is adversary. Who is the adversary? It is ourselves. We have met the enemy, and it is ourselves. When we think inaccurately and when we behave from a point of fear. So, you got to know what your passions are. My passion is to share the concept of inherent divinity. And that's what I do every day in some way. What is your mission? Identify the compassion, create a plan of action. What are you here to do? I think we just covered that. You're here to do and be who and what you are. You are love. You are light. So how you express and share that light, well, that's the purpose. That's the promise, and that's the plan. Now, you can do it as a surgeon, as a writer, as a personal trainer, as a mother, father, brother, sister, uncle, niece, nephew, as a minister. That's the mission. That's the purpose. But it can be expressed in all kinds of vehicles and all kinds of modalities and occupations, professions. What is life about? Just covered it already. These are the questions that I would ask you to contemplate and to write down. Because if you're not clear on these things, you'll be a drifter. And going back to outwitting the devil, I knew there was a point I was going to share with you, is the devil, the person who the dark side, the negative side of energy that he's talking with in that book, says that the key is accurate thinking, independent, original thought. That's the key to success. Drifting is what 98% of people do. Now, that might be a bit high. I'm not sure if it's really that high. But drifters, those who don't know what their definite purpose is, don't know who they are, what they are, why they are, or how they are, drift. And the negative side of life is drifting from relationship to relationship, drifting from job to job, drifting from city to city. I can attest to being a bit of a gypsy. Now, I've always had a purpose. I've always wanted to do radio, and that's taken me, almost inherent in radio is a bit of drifting if you want to progress. Now, if you want to, work at a small town radio station your entire career, then you wouldn't necessarily drift. And I have lots of friends who did just that and are very happy with that. I wouldn't have been happy with that. I have to progress. That's just me. So there you are. Those are some of the questions that I would ask you. Many, many other ones too. And together we can help you live the undeniable life. And they get you in a mindset where you're accepting all the good that should be yours. I can help you with your dreams and goals, weight release, prosperity, abundance. Again, reach out to me, Doug@youaregodsbestidid.com, if you're interested. Let's talk about forgiveness, and then we'll wrap up today's show. This is powerful. This is so important. Loving the unlovable and forgiving the unforgivable is the light that illuminates your hour of darkness. And we all have them from time to time. Loving the unlovable and forgiving the unforgivable is the light that illuminates your hour of darkness. If you're not helping in some way, form, or fashion, the people who are the farthest off track, who are being self-destructive, and by being self-destructive, being destructive of everything around them. I mean, our society at some point institutionalizes those people, arrests and incarcerates those kinds of people. I mean, most of our prisons are filled with people who were self-destructive. And in their own self-destruction, it bled over into hurting others. Isn't it interesting that we don't tend to do anything about these people until they've hurt somebody else? While they're hurting themselves, not my problem. But when their psychosis or consciousness leads them to where their negativity is abrupting our joy, that's when we go, well, we got to do something about them, so we put them in jail. Wouldn't it be nice if we were loving them before that point and maybe help them get things turned around. The chains of the unforgiven are carried by the unforgiving, those who withhold the key to conciliation. Forgiveness, as it has been written, is the gift you give yourself. The pain of the unforgiven pounds heaviest in the hearts of the unforgiving. If you allow yourself to look at even one soul as being unequal, less than, unworthy of love and forgiveness, you open the door to that one being you. Because after all, there's just one of us. As I mentioned in previous shows, everyone suffers pain and loss. When somebody throws you a ball of dissension, you not only don't have to throw it back, you can simply allow it to fall to the ground. We need to start loving and forgiving each other, as it is not only the least we can do, it is the most we can do. A person who celebrates misfortune invites it in for cake and ice cream. There's the German word Schadenfreude, which is rejoicing in the misery of others, especially somebody who maybe deserved it. Yes, we get punished due to the consequences of our mistakes. That is true. But having the whole world rejoice in our foibles, it's not so good. What you counter, you encounter. What you oppose will set up residency next door because the opposition to it resides in your mind. It's all between the ears. Well, that's the brain. The mind, well, that's universal. The key to freedom is found in forgiveness. Every day is a great day to present a pardon. Present a pardon. If not in person, then in spirit. Pardon precedes peace. If you have ever wondered why there are nations who have been at odds fighting for thousands of years, it is because neither has pardoned the other for real or imagined injustices. Well, you did this, you did that. Well, you did that first, you did that. I mean, it never stops. There is no peace without forgiveness. A person who attacks is trying to destroy what they don't love in themselves. You cannot love a person while judging them. You are the only one judging. You cannot worship God while holding contempt for your brother because he was put here by God for you. By God? Sentence yourself and your sister to peace. Why not try that? Can't hurt. The mercy you share is the God you show. The mercy you show is the God you share. We all understand how hard it is to forgive sometimes. For prideful people, forgiveness seems like a concession. The only concession I recommend is to love. I guess that is what I'm trying to say. Concede to love. Instead of holding on to hate, embrace love. Be merciful. The day of your last judgment is the first day of your eternal pardon. If you are holding out for an apology, you are creating a vacuum in your mind or heart, which you will fill with something less than love. So why compound the pain of a real or imagined injustice? You are picking at your own scab, suggesting that the person who caused it is the only one who can heal it. Man, this is good stuff. You are picking at your own scab, suggesting that the person who caused it is the only one who can heal it. No! God heals the cuts on your arm as well as the scars on your heart. Allow yourself to heal by loving yourself and accepting and embracing the divinity within. You're listening to the Undeniable Life Radio Show with Douglas Holzmeyer, author of You Are God's Best Idea, Divine Acceptations and Living the Undeniable Life. please follow the show. I forgot to do that. I love the fact that you come here and listen to the show, but follow it on Blog Talk. Just go ahead and I guess there's a button that you push. And please send the link to this show to people who you think would like hearing some good news. When you can look upon the happy man and are happier for having done so, even envy is acquiescent. So speaking from personal experience, a lot of my contemporaries have been more successful in terms of market size and income than I have in this business of radio broadcasting. Even though I'm just as talented, have the same passion and desire, but my level of success has been on a scale of 1 to 10, probably an 8. Some of my peers are at the 9 and 10 level. Doesn't make them better than me, but I would have liked to have done more, and I'm still on that road. I still have that consciousness. But in the meantime, I'm doing this kind of stuff, which is a little more important. So when you envy is the bane of abundance. So when you can look upon the happy man and are happier for having done so, even envy is acquiescent. There is a process called radical forgiveness. It is a book written by Colin C. Tipping. I learned about this in one of my classes on my way to being a licensed spiritual practitioner. The idea is simply to stop parsing forgiveness and forgive. We all know about unconditional love. How about unconditional forgiveness? A little harder. The gift of forgiveness isn't a gift at all if it comes from and with strings attached. I'll forgive you if. Well, those are strings. That's not unconditional. That's not to say that there aren't conditions to a process. There are conditions with life coaching. There are conditions with, probation officers and counselors and therapy. Yes. But in terms of forgiveness and love, we should remove those strings. We have to stop seeing others as impediments to our happiness and success. As long as you are placing your prospects for peace, love, and success in the hands and hearts of others, you make them the gatekeepers to your miracles. When, of course, they all unfold from within us. You are responsible for the acceptance or rejection of the universe's abundance in all forms. So receive forgiveness through forgiving. Check into radical forgiveness. It was really important for me. The day you decide you have had enough suffering, you will have had enough suffering. Forgive your divine family and accept your inner divinity and live the undeniable life. Love and forgiveness with condition is but a crumb of cheese atop a trap. Unconditional love and forgiveness sets you free. Love and forgiveness with condition is but a crumb of cheese atop a trap. Unconditional love and forgiveness sets you free. Stop going back to the mouse trap. Because we want some self-satisfaction, don't we? We want the other person to say, "I'm sorry." I had a situation in the last year where a person, through some other people, did me wrong, treated me very unkind. And interestingly, I reacted, kind of in a hurt way. And I wrote an email and I sent it to all those people and the person who I know this originated from and with. And I basically, told them off. Lovingly, tactfully, but forcefully. I told them, this was not right. This is not our teaching. This is not the way you're supposed to treat me, considering how much I do for you. So they were wanting to accept me with a condition, and they were unforgiving of my tardiness. So I kind of let them have it. But everything I said was 100% true. Now, so I started going back to that organization a few months later after I got over myself, and I basically forgave them for hurting me so hard, or so hurting me so much. I forgave them. I came back, and I came back for a number of weeks, about 2 months. And then the person who hurt me, who was at the center of my pain, took me out to lunch just to tell me that she wanted me to forgive her. No, she wanted me to apologize to her for writing the email. That was 100% correct. I thought, you've got to be kidding me. Not that I need or want an apology from you, but I thought I thought she was taking me out to apologize to me. So I haven't been back because they placed a condition on my being in the organization, which was being on time to meetings. And they then placed another condition on me that I had to ask for forgiveness to be allowed back in, even though they were wrong. Not to say that I wasn't late from time to time, but I was, volunteering, hundreds and hundreds of hours of free time to this organization. But they were all hung up, or at least she was all hung up about the 1 or 2 minutes I was coming in late for the meetings. So she was putting a crumb of cheese in front of the big picture. So she wanted a crumb of cheese of satisfaction of me saying I'm sorry in order for me to return to this particular organization. And I said, I actually did give her the apologies. It wasn't heartfelt or genuine because I didn't need to apologize. And I wasn't wrong. So now I have forgiven them, but I'm not going to go where I'm not wanted or respected. And I respect that. I absolutely respect that. You need to associate yourself with not just like-minded people, but better than that, successful people. If prosperity and abundance is what you want, associate yourself with wealthier people. See how they do it. Soak up that energy. I don't want to put myself in a group of people that have a low consciousness and who are petty. I'm sorry. I lived that way for 50 years. I'm not doing it anymore. So I spend my time with you doing these shows. And you can listen and learn or not. But I'm giving myself to you for free. And so you've got to respect and love yourself enough not to put yourself in a group of people that will bring you down. I guess that's a bonus lesson. Now you can love and forgive them and accept them for who they are and where they are on their journey and wherever their level of consciousness is. But you don't have to associate with them unless they're family, So you are God's best idea. You are divine and important, needed and necessary, loved and beloved. That's inherent divinity. With the acceptance of this divine truth, your divine awareness and consciousness is instantly raised. It is through the embodiment and practice of the divine ideas that I'm sharing and the acceptations that you can most definitely unfold all of your dreams in abundance and live the undeniable life. So who wants to live undeniably? Who wants to accept all the good that God or the universe is setting on the table of life? Who here is already living that undeniable life? If it's you, let me know. I would love to hear your story. By the way, I'm looking for more stories of redemption and victory to put in my second book, You Are God's Best Idea, Living the Undeniable Life. So if you have a story you'd like to share, contact me at yourgodsbestidea.com. Live from your inner majesty, and soon you'll be surrounded by your glory. Got it? Get it? Got it? Good. All right. I'm Douglas Holzmeyer, and I am so happy that we spend this time and these opportunities to get to know each other and to share the good news. And the good news is that you are great, meant for greatness. You are the purpose, the promise, and the plan. Let's start living that way together. Put our minds and our consciousness together and create a light of love that positively affects all of those who are near and dear to us, but also create a ripple effect that touches everyone on this planet. It can happen with us. It can happen right now. So, having said all of that, I love you unconditionally. And we'll meet again here on the Undeniable Life Radio Show on Blog Talk Radio. Have a fantastic day.